Everyone has their thing that works for them. I don't advise cage matches. I think there are certain techniques that might work for certain bodies, but it depends on the movement. There's a reason we have so many styles of martial arts. I can't say one is necessarily better than another per se. It's just whichever, works for your body. So there's a reason why, Jimmy likes Muay Thai and I do Shorin Ryu instead of Aikido, instead of Judo, instead of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Doesn't to say that they're bad, martial arts. There can be bad instructors, but they've developed for their own reasons. They all have, qualities about them that are worth considering and ideas worth considering. And there are things that everything has its limitations. So like ground fighting is great for the ground. I don't teach a ton of ground fighting because I don't want to be on the ground that long. That's not safe for me. I don't have the stamina for fighting on the ground that long. MMA has a certain sports quality that Jimmy has described before. Is there's a hyper masculine culture that comes with it, and because it's a sport, there are certain things that are illegal moves. But if you're asking like what to look out for in terms of if it's a quality session, are they giving you modifications? Are they giving you ways to access things if it's unreachable? Because if you feel like you're shoehorning a technique that strains your body in a way, it's not good. Don't do it. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. If it forces you to participate in ways that are traumatic, don't do it. All of these are voluntary. Like Jimmy and I teach purely voluntarily, and our students come in and they understand that, if there's a technique that triggers them in any other way, they are not required to participate. If we need to make a modification for them so that way they can still practice without, whatever is triggering, we'll make them on. If there's an injury that we need to be aware of, we make them on. But if they're forcing you that it's very prescriptive, like your ankles have to be like this and your knees have to be like this, and it's not, the correct thing, if it's not like this, then that's a red flag.
I'll add on top of that, technically as effective as if someone can do it. So if someone really can't, or it's like really difficult, if you're saying, no, this is easy because I can do it, I learned it easily, and someone can't, then what good is that for them if you can't teach them how to modify it or use something else? So those things I kind of look for, and like I don't judge styles or even like, oh, MMA is better because it's like a place where all the styles can come up. It's a rule set, and something I always keep in mind, whether it's sports or self-defense, when it comes to just like physical fighting skills, is that it's all circumstantial, like really, in terms of like who I'm fighting, like in competition. What I can pull off will depend on what like the circumstances or what they'll let me pull off. Like I don't really head kick because I'm not that flexible. Like Joanne said, I like to do certain things because it feels good in my body, and really just like the biggest healing part for me was just like feeling good about these movements in my body. Like, oh yeah, my body does that, or I feel strong when I do this. And I feel powerful, not like, yeah, I can beat someone up. Really having effective techniques, and if the instructor, speaks also from experience that's like not from the ring, or not from the sport world, because it's a little different. And like, yeah, ground fighting is good for ground fighting, but personally, I wouldn't want to be on the ground long. And some of the older styles of Muay Thai, they'll emphasize, yeah, just kick your, even if you're on the ground, like throwing a roundhouse from the ground until you get back up. So, everyone has different perspectives towards it. And I think ultimately all martial arts, works for people at certain points. That's why they were developed.
Think of if you think about in sport competitions where someone climbs up two people and does a backflip and kicks 5 boards, or I do a 360 round kick because I want to show off. They're great trick shots. I love doing them. It feels great, literally impractical in a fight. The first 4 belts I teach are the same front, round, side, and Nahanchi kick, just in different foot positions. So you'll learn to, do it with your front foot and your back foot. It's because they're the most useful kicks and they're most practical kicks, but they're not the fanciest thing you'll ever see in your life. I teach a plethora of hand strikes that are not for fist punches, so straight punches. So you have an arsenal that doesn't require a ton of skill, and it's probably natural to your body anyway. If something comes by your face, you stick your hands up oh shit. This is also international sign, me no fighty fighty, hands by your face, hands are open. So you kind of already know how to do that. So we're just showing you just different ways to apply what your body will naturally do anyway. But they're not what you're going to see in the movies. Whatever preconception you have of what you think it should look like because of the wonderful cinematography that has been afforded to us to make martial arts look cool in the US isn't an accurate representation of how it actually looks in real life. The average altercation is 15 seconds. 15 seconds is your fight. So that means on average, it could be shorter or it could be longer. You obviously don't want a long fight. It's not fancy. And then also just recognizing that whatever your body limitations are. Bruce Lee wasn't that tall. In fact, one leg was longer than the other. There are difficulties that come with it, but the wonderful quote and teachings that he has come out with was that to know your limitations is to be able to exceed them. If you accept that you are a 5'8" man or a very, very petite woman or non-male, then that's the starting point for you to figure out, what do I have access to? I'm not going to punch people's face because I would have to reach their face. So I'm going to either, manipulate them to be able to bring their face closer to me, or I'm going to do limb destruction, and I'm going to knee the crap out of their inner thighs and their groin, and I'm going to use my foot to rake against their chin and step on their foot and use all these pressure points to make all their arms go numb and TKO that way. Because, I'm not trying to do something that isn't made for my body, that isn't accessible at that time, and I'm not going to force it because I don't have time like that to make it work like that. It's just not there.
Yeah, and in my end, that's why I like teaching elbow fighting. Not because it looks cool and that's how I got into it. Like, yeah, it looks cool, but if you really watch it carefully, it's not strike like a big punch. You can't really be too aggressive with it. It works the best. What I mean is, it works the best when someone's coming at you. And I'm not doing anything. Like, I like Joanne's skill, picking up a phone with this elbow, or I use comb over the ear. All you're doing is this, but if someone is like walking really fast into you and their nose bonks on that, you're not really squeezing anything. It's a passive stance. Or if I just go like this, like punch my face, it's little things like that.
Everything's circumstantial, of course. Like, if someone's throwing a punch at you, you are not going to lecture them on, hey, it'd be really nice if you could let him sit down. You're going to have to stop the punch first, and then you can have that sit down talk. But, I've had that as a critique for my own self-defense seminars, that we should be teaching men not to, hit women and not to assault them. That's all true and dandy, but I'm not going to lecture gender studies when I'm being assaulted. I'm just going to punch them and, stop the assault first. The critiques are always valid. People feel a certain way, they've thought about this, and I do value that. The thing is that we live in a society where we still have people who don't respect personal autonomy of your body. And that's the thing. It's like, these assaults happen. These assaults are happening. That is a reality we have to face right now. And so, of course, teach your children. Of course, have this community talk. Again, I don't want to be the person who's like, yeah, fight first, figure it out later. This is not like I'm not, an advocate for like stand your ground, but like karate edition. Like I said before, if you're in a fight, it's because you missed a few cues or it came out as a surprise, but more often than not, you missed a few cues. So you could de-escalate there. But again, these are like situational things, right? Is it a family member? Is it a complete stranger? Are you out like partying? How well you know that person also dictates how you're going to interact with that person. My sensei is going to listen to me better than some stranger that he is talking to on Facebook. So you can de-escalate your family if you have a really close relationship with your family. Like, hey, sit down. I care about you. You care about me. This person you don't know nearly as well, that may not resonate. That may not actually be an option for you. So you have to end the violence as quickly as possible, even if that means using violence.
And yeah, I want to add on top of that, all of us here are very aware, being trauma informed when we teach. Like, of course, in an ideal world, the next generations don't have to deal with trauma or any of that because we're all working on it. But the reality is, it's gonna happen, and I think trying to prevent that, like from personal experience, like I was held up at knife point. And by someone I knew, a friend of a friend, who was having a psychotic break on drugs. And by then I knew disarming techniques and everything, but it went out the door because I'm like, wait, I know this person, they're not fully here right now. Am I gonna do anything? All I did, and that's how I got out of it, was like, put my hands up slowly. It was like, hey, it's me, it's okay. It's me, brother. And like, I slowly moved my hands in front of, like his hand grabbing my throat and his other hand at the knife, but very softly. And like, once I was able to empathize, I really was, in the moment, I was kind of, I don't know how I switched on. I wasn't scared till after. But I was able to like gently disarm him and like talk him down from that. But the point is, even though I got out of that, I was still traumatized after. So like, I think even if you successfully leave a situation, you use these techniques well, there's still a lot to process. For me, it was months, and I had to get therapy for that. I had like night terrors for a while. So I think it's also important to be aware of like treating this as a preventative, like, okay, that's all we need, is, you know, also like not enough. And I think that's where we emphasize like the community aspect of defense. And I think that's why I also mentioned earlier, like, yeah, having people there for you also after something happens as well.